Folks, you sold firm, but will it actually close? I'll get into that, and then the latest home prices and insights for York Region for week ending July 24th, 2024. As a seller, we've got this attitude, many sellers, that I want an offer with no conditions, no financing condition, no home inspection condition. This way, maybe you negotiate the price back and forth, but once it's accepted by either the buyer or the seller and there's no conditions, it's sold firm. That's it. My home is sold firm. Look, selling and closing, one does not guarantee the other. Just because you sold and you're sold firm, it does not guarantee you're going to close. But a lot of sellers have this in their head that sold firm is the way to go. Well, I'm telling you, especially in this market, a bit of caution can help you have peace of mind. There's never any guarantees that everything's going to close and everything's going to be fine. But there's some ways of having a bit more peace of mind, of hedging the bet that your home was actually going to close. And one of those is actually having conditions. Now, I know the whole thing is, if the buyer has no conditions, the buyer must be stronger. No, it's not true. The buyer sometimes is feeling pressure not to have any conditions. There are sellers that insist on no conditions. We sold a condo recently, just very recently, and there was a financing condition as part of the offer. My clients, the sellers, were thinking, there's a financing condition. And I'm like, well, let's talk about this for a second. The financing condition is there to protect the buyer. And the financing condition is written in favor of the buyer. So if there's no financing condition, we really don't always know how strong the buyer's financial position is. We just have to take their word for it that they don't need a financing condition. That may not be the case. So there's always that risk that, hey, they might not get financing on closing. But if they have a condition, this is what I had to explain to my clients. If they have a financing condition, give them the 3, 4, 5 days they're going to need to take the listing, take the offer, show it to their lender. I'm assuming it's a bank. Take it to their lender saying, this is the house we want to buy. Please approve my mortgage. The bank may want to do an appraisal in the process. We'll look at all this. And if in that situation, the buyer then comes back and says, okay, I'm waiving the financing condition, I'm good, there's a far greater chance that that home will close. In this case, my client's condo will close. There's a far greater chance than there being no condition. Still no guarantees, but there's a far greater chance. So as a seller, I'm saying, don't be afraid about the conditions. Don't be afraid about the financing condition. Also the home inspection condition. Don't be afraid. Give the buyer the time to be cautious, to do their condition reasonably. I mean, if they want 10, 15 days financing, 10, 15 days home inspection, that's unreasonable. That ties the property up way too long. The 3, 4, 5 day condition, so the buyer can satisfy themselves. Even if something goes sideways later, the buyer has far fewer opportunities to back out or to save themselves because they did have the opportunity. And if there's a chance that the buyer can't close, wouldn't you want to know it right away, immediately in the first few days after your home is sold conditionally? That way, if something goes sideways, well, you're still on the market. You can just flip the switch and have buyers show up again, versus 2 months, 3 months later, when your home closes, you're in a totally different market. Now you've already made plans as a seller to move on. It's way more of a mess. So sellers, do not be afraid of conditions. I would suggest allow the buyer time. Feel good that the buyer's confirming they can actually close on your home. Far more peace of mind for you as a seller. and also for the buyer. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. If you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Up here, there's a link to my calendar. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. York region, we're going to be focused on detached properties for Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham. This is average sold prices for 3 months for week ending July 24th. We're going to start off with Vaughan. Week ending July 24th, 22 detached properties were sold. 7 of those were at $2 million or more. So let's just talk about sales first of all. 22 were sold. Even though 22 is down from the week before and that week was up, overall sales are trending down, and it's usually the case at this time of the year. July, especially August, tend to be a bit slower with people taking holidays, with heading into back to schools, families taking holidays or hanging out with their kids. Sales are generally slower or fewer, let me say, at this time of year. So sales are trending down, seasonal. 7 of those sales, though, were sold at $2 million or more. 3 of those 7 were at $3 million or more. Well, average sold price shot way up because of that to $1,867,000. If I was to look back a couple of weeks, I would say, well, average prices kind of coming down a little bit, but with these last few large sales, prices shot back up. So average sold price of $1,867 is 1% higher than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 9% lower. So average price a little bit all over the place, and I'm looking at the dotted line right now as reference. That's the 4-week moving average. Average price is a bit all over the place. Median price seems to be on a straight line trending down. 22 were sold, 27% sold at list price or more. That percentage is far lower than what it's been in the past. 77 detached properties were listed. Active listings, there's 481 available detached properties for sale just in Vaughan. So think about this for a second. 22 were sold, but there's 481 available for sale. Months of inventory, we're sitting at 5 months of inventory, and 5 has kind of been the theme over the last few weeks. We've been as low as 4.5, as high as 5.4. 5 is about the median so far over the last few weeks. So months of inventory, way up there at 5 months of inventory. Richmond Hill, 16 detached properties were sold. Although 16 is up from the previous week of only 11 sold the previous week, sales overall are trending down. 16 were sold. Only 2 were at $2 million or more. I say only 2 because Richmond Hill, if we kind of look back, it's rare when we see 1, 2, or 3 selling at $2 million or more. It's normally many more. We got 10, 7, 6, 12. Well, 2 were at $2 million or more. Average sold price is now having the opposite effect at what happened in Vaughan, where average sold price is way down because fewer of the more expensive properties are selling. Average price is $1,673,000. 1,673 is 19% lower than where we were this time a year ago. Median price is 14% lower, and 6% of the 16 sold at list price or more. So there's fewer and fewer properties in Richmond Hill selling at list price or more. 48 were listed. Active listings, it was trending up, and now it's kind of hovering around just over 400. Months of inventory sitting at 5.9 months of inventory. Down from the previous week, but overall trending way up there at 5.9. Here's Markham. 22 detached properties were sold. We were, for a while, hovering around 7. When I say for a while, I'm talking about the end of May, most of June, around 27 sales a week. Then we dropped down to the beginning of July of about 23, 21. We're now at 22. So sales kind of from a plateau of 27 came down to just over 20, which is where we are now. 22 detached properties were sold for week ending July 24th. 8 of those, lots, 8 of those sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price is $1,869,000. 1869 is 3% higher year over year. Median price is 1% higher compared to this time a year ago. 36% of the 22 that sold at list price or more. Active listings continuing to increase. 62 more detached properties were listed. I shouldn't say more, because some of those new listings are cancellations of a previous listing and relisted. So 66 new listings, but they may not all be new properties. Months of inventory, 3.7. We've been just over 3 now for about a month, month and a half. So 3.7 is the months of inventory, pretty much a balanced market there. When we compare, we're looking at 5 months of inventory for Vaughan, 5.9 for Richmond Hill, 3.7 for Markham. Depending on where you're selling or what neighborhood you're shopping in, you're going to experience either more of a balanced market or more of a buyer's market. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.